Welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. On Thursday last week, the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Africa held an open hearing on President Donald Trump's redesignation of Nigeria as country of particular concern over alleged Christian genocide. Lawmakers, religious leaders, the U.S. State Department officials, and witnesses debated over their views. Chairman of the subcommittee, Chris Smith, highlighted that 89% of all Christians martyred worldwide are in Nigeria, with over 52,000 Christians slaughtered since 2009. He accused the Fulani herdsmen of committing acts of rape, kidnapping, and murder with total impunity from Nigerian officials. He also argued that the attacks were unequivocally religiously motivated, as he blamed the previous administration for weakening U.S. pressure by removing Nigeria from the country of particular concern list, despite recommendations from the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. He emphasized that the U.S. will not be silent while people are persecuted and will not stop fighting until perpetrators are brought to justice. Since the hearing, President Donald Trump has described Nigeria as a disgrace. He's accused the federal government of failing to protect citizens. On a radio program on Friday, the U.S. president said, I'm quoting here, "I think Nigeria is a disgrace. The whole thing is a disgrace. They're killing people by the thousands. It's a genocide, and I'm really angry about it. And we pay, we give a lot of subsidy to Nigeria, which we're going to end up stopping. The government's done nothing. They're very ineffective. They're killing Christians at will. And until I got involved in it 2 weeks ago, nobody even talked about it." Joining me now is former Permanent Secretary at the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshi, who's also a former Consul General at the Nigerian Embassy in the United States, and former High Commissioner to Jamaica with concurrent accreditation to Haiti and the Dominican Republic and Belize. Ambassador Adenike Usonga is also former Executive Secretary, Gulf of Guinea Commission, based in Luanda, Angola. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Diplomatic Channel today. And we're discussing the hearing at the United States House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Africa, which focused on Nigeria on Thursday. A focus was on President Trump's redesignation of Nigeria as country of particular concern over alleged Christian genocide. And some have argued, and I think I heard this during the hearing on Thursday, that it would be an error to focus on the violence on one religious group and thinking that that is the major problem. The issue is violence and terrorism being meted out on ordinary Nigerians. I think I'll begin with you, Ambassador Usonga, because it really is, really special that we have you on the program today. Do you think that there is a terrorist agenda in Nigeria? A plan to overtake the country and impose perhaps one religion on the rest of us?
Thank you very much, Amarachi, for having me. Well, it looks like a terrorist agenda because when you look at it, it didn't start today. I mean, it started at least 12 years ago. It had something like that towards the end of Jonathan's administration. We thought it would be nipped in the bud. The Chibok girls episode, everybody was aware of that. It gave us very bad publicity, but somehow some of the girls were brought back, and up till now we still don't know what happened to some of them. But in recent times, especially in the last 10 years and in the last 6 months, the attack on communities, I would say, I wouldn't know whether they are all Christians or Muslims or mixed, have been increased. And one wonders, why is it so? Could it be because nobody has actually been brought to justice?
Absolutely.
And people seem to, those who should actually go after these criminals, seem to shrug it away and either turn the other eye or just didn't bother much. to give it the type of attention and action it demands. And they have grown to, they have this much confidence that nothing will happen and they can run amok and do exactly what they like. And you know, when criminals are not controlled and when they are not dealt with the way the law says they should be dealt with, it gives them this confidence that they can get away with murder, which exactly is what they've been doing. And these terrorists, not all of them have the same agenda. Some of them, it could be religious to some extent, some economic, some political, and some tribal ethnic. So you really don't know. It's a mixed bag of terrorism being unleashed on Nigeria.
Ambassador Keshi, I heard you say absolutely, while she was talking. It seems like you also have the same views.
Yes, I said absolutely when she spoke about the fact that there has been no justice, that those criminals who are perpetrating these crimes, no one, sometimes government says they've been brought to justice, but we, we had no idea when they were taken to court. We never heard of any trial, but we are told by government that they have jailed so many of them and things like that. And if you go back, take your mind back to, to the hearing, you will hear the kind of language or adjectives that were used to describe, the Nigerian situation. Incompetent, the same lack of justice that Ambassador Konga spoke of. In other words, these criminals or whoever they are perpetrating this crime and nobody, cares to persecute them. And as a result, they are emboldened. But we can also not rule out politics.
Right.
Because just before, we started, I just was reading the various statements made by President Tinubu in 2014 and 2015. It is very instructive, and and I think Nigerians should go back and read that if President Tinubu himself can recall all the statements he made in 2014 and 2015, how he described Jonathan as clueless and then called for military action against the bandits. I think the time has come for the president himself to live up to what he said a couple of years ago and take military action against these people for the simple reason that that hearing really did not portray us well. Describing our institutions as weak, describing as our government as, describing Nigeria as irresponsible, describing us as incompetent. Come on, if you are really a Nigerian, you should feel sorry for this country when you hear foreigners, and some of them relatively young fellows in Congress, describing
and those comments are true, reflective of Nigeria.
Absolutely reflective of Nigeria. And as Madam Konga pointed out a few minutes ago, how does anybody explain? I've been asking this question. How does anybody explain to me that for over 15 years, we've been unable to solve this insecurity in this country? I keep saying somebody should please explain to me. And nobody has come up to say, everybody say, oh, it's economic, so why haven't we addressed the economic problem? Oh, it's settlers problem, so why haven't we addressed it? 15 good years. So it confirms and reflects what was said in the Washington. Incompetence, lack of political will, weakness of institutional states. And that's where we are today.
And maybe also some of the comments by leaders in the country. There's one particular religious leader who said that we should negotiate with the terrorists, and that he has effected the negotiations of at least 600 of those terrorists. He's been able to negotiate, some sort of arrangements, between them and the government. Ambassador Konga, what do you make of this? I mean, it does seem out of this world to be negotiating with terrorists. I mean, it's a principle that is in international relations that you do not negotiate with terrorists. So why have we been negotiating with the terrorists or the bandits? We have been paying ransoms. We've been rescuing those who are captive, and then the government claims they have not paid ransoms, but some of the people have said, yes, ransom was paid because, family and friends were called to make some donation for their release?
You know, we have to go back a little bit to the time of Jonathan, especially when the Chibok girls incident happened. And thereafter, when you see the way these criminals have proceeded, anytime I see a state governor dancing and negotiating with them, I just wonder what has happened to our rules and regulations. What happened to our laws? There is no law in this country that says you should negotiate with criminals or with terrorists. Whether, no matter what the reason for the terrorism is, you catch them and you discipline them. You try them and you jail them, and if they kill people, you sentence them to either death or life imprisonment. You've just seen one. This guy was just convicted, I don't know, last week or so, for terrorism. And you know, that rule with which they judged what's his name now?
Kanu.
Nnamdi Kanu.
The hip hop guy. Why haven't we used it for these other ones that have even preceded that one? I don't understand. I see some state governors, especially in the northwestern part, you see terrorists or bandits with their sticks, they'll be dancing, they'll say, oh, they have now resolved the issue, no more problem, within 2 months. And it is because they know they can get away with it. Those who shall have summoned the courage to actually pursue them and make sure that this thing is actually put a stop to. They have not done so. And I wonder why they are doing that. So when everybody comes up with all kinds of theories, oh, it's because they are from this part, it's because of this, it's because of economic reasons, you seem to agree. And also, when they go and, you know, in Zamfara, where they are gold, where they are, what is it, where they are mining gold, you see them there. It seems as if the bandits just come to destabilize and send away the community so that they can extract whatever they want to extract and put those people permanently in IDP camps. And we don't seem to do anything about it. And that is what has encouraged and emboldened the bandits to continue to do what they are doing. And we also hear stories of people who have been victims, how they have even reported to the police or to the army commander, and they say, oh, okay, you go. When they try to pursue these bandits or to capture their villages back, they are arrested and they are thrown into prison. What type of thing is that? What are we trying to say? What are we telling the terrorists? You can get away with murder, but the victims cannot get away with anything. You won't help them, they can't help themselves. What are we saying? What are the authorities of those states saying? What is the federal government saying? You should continue? There seems to be really some things that just don't add up. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't add up.
And I just want to go over some of President Trump's comments about Nigeria. He's referred to Nigeria as a disgrace. He has. And then I'm getting information right now that the U.S. president has threatened to cut off aid to Nigeria if the killing of Christians and the mass abductions continue in the country. And of course, this is because, you know, even though, you know, there have been, you know, the hearing at the subcommittee, there were a number of attacks last week. I mean, at the start of the week, there were abductions from a school in Kebbi. The church attack, I think, was the one that shocked a lot of people. If there wasn't a live feed, we really wouldn't have known. We probably would have glossed over as well, you know, that attack, because I mean, there would have been no visual representation of that. But thank God for, you know, that live feed that we're all able to see, and it shocked the nation, and everybody seemed to have worked. What do you make of what President Trump has said? First of all, the impact of him calling Nigeria a disgrace in front of the other 53 African nations we have said that we are a big brother to, that we are the giant of Africa. We're supporting countries, we're supporting, you know, missions and so on, and then threatening to cut off aid from Nigeria, to Nigeria rather.
I'm trying to remember a proverb. I think it's a Yoruba proverb, a common Nigerian proverb, but it's it's not coming in too quickly. But look, here is what I would say. As I said before, anybody who listened to the hearing should really be angry with our leaders for bringing us to this kind of situation where another president will describe a country like Nigeria, you know, with some of the best people, some of the bright people, some of the most industrious, hardworking people. And somebody somewhere will describe us as a disgrace. This was brought upon us by our leaders. And so today, in this your program, I challenge President Tinubu to do one or two things. As an opposition leader, Tinubu provided all the answers to the problems, to the problem of security, to the economic problem and everything. They called Jonathan all kinds of names. Today, Tinubu is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I want to beg him to remember all what he said and all the recommendations he put forward. But above all, Tinubu should please lead from the front, not sending delegates here and there to speak on his behalf. He should come out and tell the Nigerian and talk to the Nigerian people and challenge even President Trump for calling us a look, when we are called a disgraceful nation and our leaders keep quiet, this is the time for the president to rally around the troops, bring everybody together, and lay out a systematic program for dealing with this situation, including dealing with the sponsors that they know very well, including deploy military operations all over the country and give the military authorities a short time between now and the next 3 to 6 months to end the insecurity. Listen, they can end it if they want to. Go and talk to some military officers who have been part of this operation. Their first thing they say is that the people don't want to end it.
Yeah, I've heard
This
that.
operation, this insecurity can be ended if the federal government today is prepared to end it. After all, the man in power today in Abuja provided us answers when he was opposition leader. Today he's the president. So he should please recount. I have something people have been circulating. I can actually send it to his staff to remind him of all what he said in 2014 and 2015 and live up to what he said Jonathan should do.
Yeah. And Ambassador Konga, President Tinubu did not attend the G20. He actually reneged on a promise to go to South Africa, instead sending the vice president. Well, when initially I heard that the president was still planning to go to South Africa, I felt this was completely wrong. The optics were bad. Thankfully, you know, he thought about it and he stayed back. But then again, since this subcommittee hearing, we really haven't heard much from the government after. It's like the Nigerian government has become silent. What do you think is going on behind the scenes?
What I think is going on behind this, you just mentioned it, behind the scenes, secret, highly confidential. We don't know. The other lady, Oge, we heard what she said. I remember on one of her platforms, they were saying, oh, what did they agree? The delegation led by Nuhu Ribadu. What did they say? We don't know. We really don't know. We just hope that they are telling Trump that, look, well, they made one point that you can't come and attack us. But if you attack us, you are not. The narrative of Christian persecution really would not really fly because it's much more than that. We cannot stick to the narrative of a single story. That is very dangerous because there are other issues. And as Keshi has said, there are many things that were supposed to be done when they were not there. So let them do it now. Do some and let us put a stop to this impunity, because what is, if I'm stealing your things and I know I can get away with it, I start with stealing 10 naira, I'll sell 1,000, I'll sell 1 million, then I know if I steal everything, you won't still say anything. There was even a time they told us that, yes, they told us that, one country, I don't know whether UAE or Saudi, I don't know which of them, one of them, they gave them names of those who are sponsors of terrorists. We haven't heard anything. Yeah. Nobody was called out, nobody was prosecuted. I mean, these are encouraging things to those who are perpetrating it. You know, If you take a big man who is a sponsor and really make an example of it, and you round up all his supporters or those who work with him, people will sit up. Nigerians, I know we are courageous. We are also cowardly. Nobody wants to be caught doing something bad. Though we all try to do bad things when we know nobody will arrest us. So President Tinubu, really, he is the president of the country. The thing did not start under his watch. As I
At all.
said,
Yeah.
it started about 15 minus 25, whatever, 10 years ago. It festered. It grew in leaps and bounds under President Buhari. And since he came into authority, into position of power, the thing calmed down a little bit and now just spiraled. And we are wondering why. Do they feel they can get away? Is it against him to show that he's not doing anything? Or is it to just cause confusion so that people like President Trump can come and attack us and everything will scatter the way they scatter Libya or the way they scatter Southern Sudan? Nobody knows. That's why he, as president, must be seen, and the police and the military must be seen to be doing what they are supposed to do. Protect the citizens. How can people, the old villages, whole community be sacked, and for years they are in IDP? Those who sacked them are being rehabilitated, are being paid, are being taught skills, while the owners are in the IDP camps. Is that supposed to be a deterrent to the criminals or an encouragement to the victims? I don't understand. It's only here I see things like that. And I just wonder, please, we must make sure that there are rules, there are laws, and those must be enforced across the board, please. And that will give us, people like President Trump will not be saying we're a disgrace, or that we are incompetent, or we are inefficient, or all kinds of that. They are gallant people who are sacrificing, who are making the sacrifices to keep us safe. But when you go and report, they say, oh, we have orders from above. Who are the people giving these orders from above, for goodness sake? Who are they? They are not ghosts from hell.
Well, the only person I know who's above is God, and I know he's not the one giving, these instructions. Ambassador Keshi, I guess the last question will come to you. So the suggestion will be made to the U.S. president to redesignate Nigeria a country of particular concern. What would that mean for us, and how would that impact on us?
No, he has already designated us a country of particular concern. What is now left is, if we do not take actions to improve what caused it, that is when the United States might decide to do a couple of things. They could impose economic sanctions against Nigeria. And as he said, if the killings, continue, and you could see that some people are actually determined to are trying to encourage him to come. I'm not talking of those who are making fun of this, but the fact that immediately after this, you can count the number of Christian institutions,
Yes.
schools that have been raided. It's like they say, look, if you want to come, please come. And these things have been deliberate. Look, it is not the criminals, it's not the rascals in the bush who are sitting down plotting to go. Some people are directing them to go and kidnap those school kids. Let us see what the American president will do. And you could imagine, this was why President Trump came out yesterday actually to describe us as a disgraceful country. So the important thing is that whether Trump is coming or not, we do not have to wait for an outsider to tell us that we need to put our acts together. And that this insecurity has gone on for too long, and that so many lives have been killed, who in the first instance should not have died. Whether they are Christians or Muslims, it's immaterial. They are human beings. They died because successive governments of this country failed to protect them, and they lost their lives. Even when they were killed, those who killed them have not been brought to justice. So even the dead have no justice in this country. So I think that we should forget what Trump wants to do. In foreign policy, you know this very well, Amarachi. You've been in this business for too long. It is said that foreign policy is an extension of domestic policy.
Right.
So for us to look good before the international community, we need to put our acts together at home. And the only way to do that is to end the killing, end the insecurity, bring to justice those who are behind the perpetration of these criminal activities.
Yeah. Ambassador Joe Keshi, former permanent secretary at the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and also former consul general to the Nigerian Embassy in the U.S. Thank you for being with us on the program. Ambassador Adenike Usonga, this is your first outing on Diplomatic Channel.
She's on fire.
I am so happy, that you have joined us on the program today. We'll love to hear more from you.
You should get out more often.
Yeah, definitely. You are former High Commissioner to Jamaica with concurrent accreditation to Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and to Belize. Also former Executive Secretary, the Gulf of Guinea Commission, based in Luanda. I appreciate your joining us on Diplomatic Channel today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
This is where we end Diplomatic Channel this week. Remember, accountability is required of those who place themselves in leadership positions. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I'm Amarachi Ubani. I'll see you next time.